So
head in the stars.
here's like again this idea of the quiet quitting.
Mhm.
I get it, right? I'm all about act your wage. I'm 100% about act your wage. Like I don't work for free. You shouldn't work for free. But where I get really frustrated is that we shouldn't be asking people to do beyond their job duties, but we also shouldn't be allowing people to do less than their job duties. And this is where, again, the traumatic leadership comes up for me because if if you can't talk to me about my performance and tell me I need to get my shit together because I'm not doing what I need to do, if I don't feel challenged, if I don't feel seen, if I don't feel heard, like that's where the quiet quitting happens. And it's like, again, bad managers do all of these like mental gymnastics to try to get people to perform everything but actually be a human being and have real freaking conversations with people. I'm not talking about like one-on-one, like let's hold hands and what's important to you? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Which can be not the holding hands part, but like could be part of the conversation. But it's like I don't feel like we really treat people like adults anymore, especially in government, right? We expect people to be adults, but management doesn't treat people like adults. They almost infantile in what's the word I'm looking for here? Infantize,
Infantilized. Infantilized.
infantilize. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I know it in my mind, but my mouth didn't want to say it. But infantilize people. This is part of the drama triangle where I treat you like a child. And then I'm pissed that you act like a child. And so I don't try to manage you. I try to parent you through timeouts and do this or else or whatever. Like I'm disappointed in you instead of having like real, genuine conversations with people. Um, Kim Scott wrote the book Radical Candor. This is like where a lot of this idea for me is coming from. Like you have to care personally about people, but you also have to challenge them directly. And so a lot of times, again, this is just my own observations. A lot of leadership is so hyper focused on like the bottom line, which I'm not going to say is not important, but they're always looking to improve process and always looking to improve procedure and process and systems, which again have really, really valid places in the way that we work, but not at the expense of the people part of it. And I think for me, that's the big shift between the technical skills and the managerial and like leadership skills is the shift from the process, the systems, the procedures, and into like how do you get the best out of people? And that's where real leadership skills come in. And it doesn't have to be incredibly challenging. But what I'm noticing and what I'm like very, very like observant about right now is how we keep trying to solve like today's issues with yesterday's thinking, right? I want to motivate people at work. And I can go and look it up Herzberg's theory and Maslow's theory and all of these things about human behavior. But what it really boils down to is that people like need to be in a space where they're active participants in what they're doing. I don't want to just follow the leader. I'll follow the leader if the leader's showing me like a great place that I want to go. I'll follow the leader. But if you're really looking at like people being successful, they have to feel like their time is valuable and it's valued. And these old ways of just go, 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 do the work without any like connection to what's important to you or what do you want to get out of this, it just is not working. If it worked, people would be happy to go to work. And I think most of the places where people are happy to go to work is because they're not trying to be manipulated. They're not just saying, we're here for you. We're a family, which that's a red flag for me. As soon as we're a family, I'm like, I'm running for the hills. But people taking real steps, like genuine steps to say, I want to see you succeed and I want to see you succeed here. Here's what I'm seeing. What do you need? What do you need from me? And what can I do to support you? And here's what I need from you. for you to be successful as well. It's not like this secret code where everybody's trying to figure out how to win. Like, here's how we win. Here's how we win together. And when you're not doing things that are going to help us win, I have to be able to have a conversation with you and not in a you're in trouble, Carl. I can't believe you did that. And more on like, what were you hoping to happen here, Carl? And knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? And what support do you need from me? Because I want you just invested in the success of the organization as I am. And I can't do that with the stick. The stick is not working.
Hmm.
And it traumatizes people. It traumatizes. Again, I'm hard to supervise. Anybody who's ever supervised me, they deserve a medal of honor, like medal of honor, because I am really hard to supervise. But I'm also very vocal about what I need. And if you want to give me what I need, I will go above and beyond for you. I will move the moon and the stars for you if you recognize that I have some very unique talents and you want to capitalize on them. You can you can use me up. I mean, I don't want to go there, but I will go above and beyond. But as soon as you're like, get in line, peasant, and do what I tell you, Godspeed to you, because I'm going to ruin your life. My goal in life is to ruin bad man. I want bad managers to lose sleep over me. I will go above and beyond in that direction. That's the I in me. That's the I in me coming out.
Hmm.
Anyways, I'm super passionate about this right now. I'm sorry if
Yeah.
I'm getting too far off topic, but
We're not,
like,
no, you're not
start
far off topic,
separating
and you
people.
and I are not far away from each other. I mean, when it comes to this, but talking about it, you know, what do you suggest? What do these organizations need to do to create that feeling where we are changing those habits and systems that are um, bringing forth this trauma?
Well, my first thing is that people just have to learn how to tell each other the truth. Like just period, all around employees, managers, supervisors, directors. Like if we could start just having like genuinely honest conversations, even when they're painful to have, I think that's a good step in the right direction. Like this whole politically correct tiptoe around, don't upset anybody. Like you're always going to make somebody uncomfortable. You're someone's always going to be uncomfortable. And this is not these are not my words. This comes from Cy Wakeman, her reality-based leadership like philosophy. Like you can't please your high performers and your low performers at the same time. So who do you want to be uncomfortable? Do you want it to be your high performers or do you want it to be your low performers? And again, in government, my perspective, my observation is that the people who end up being the most uncomfortable are the high performers because we don't get bonuses, we don't get extra time off, we don't get like awards. Like what happens is the people who make the most noise get the most accommodations for their work. The people who are doing really well, their bonus is they get to do the work of the people who aren't because the low performers they get uncomfortable, they make noise, and so they're allowed to do what they do. And so, like, we have to be able to tell each other the truth and stop treating everybody like kids. So if let let me use a completely hypothetical situation. If I have a conflict with a coworker, okay, and we're not getting along with each other. We don't see eye to eye. We don't know how to talk to each other respectfully. Maybe there's some, stories happening from both sides. This is what happened. No, this is what happened. Like, of course, from a management perspective, this is completely uncomfortable, right? I want to like validate both people's experience. So instead of like, again, being honest to say, look, you two are both adults. We have a job to do. Let's figure out how you're going to work well with each other. What do you need and what do you need? Let's create some ground rules. And I'm going to hold you to be grown-ups in this room. You don't have to like each other, but you do have to have good, respectful, professional relationships with each other. So let's figure out what that looks like. Instead, we're like, no, CC me on all the emails. CC me, and I'm just going to be like the peacekeeper. And oh, you can't tell her that, so tell me, and then I'll translate it. And then you tell me, and then I'll translate it. Guess what? Nothing's been solved except for now we have a babysitter. And then you're probably pissed off and overwhelmed and overworked because now you got to babysit two adults instead of just telling them the truth to say, I know you all hate each other. You don't get along, but guess what? You have to work well. Let's figure that out. And that does not happen because someone's going to be uncomfortable and they just want everybody to be pleased. And guess what? Nobody's happy except for maybe the one person who's like, I got what I wanted. I don't have to be accountable because now my boss is going to do all the middlemanning.
So
Pisses
we
me
know what you
off.
don't want. Well, yeah, it pisses a lot of people off, and you want people to be honest and have good conversations. The question I'm asking you is, yes, we know people need to be more honest with each other, and they need to have honest conversations. How do you propose that people have honest conversations when they don't feel supported or even taught that by that cycle of abusive leadership that you talked about at the beginning? What is it's not even it's not a magic pill. What is it? What can we do to help people feel comfortable in those types of positions? Because I've had several conversations the last couple of weeks where I don't know what else to do. I have these issues. I have this problem employee, and I've even taken it to HR, and they've said, well, you need to figure it out, and we can't, just get rid of somebody. And I mean, there are things that have to be done. We know what the issues are. Everyone can tell you that people can't have honest conversations or that they have a hard time with honest conversations. You don't, because you are who you are. And you're an eye. Eyes are the least of all the discs, right? They are the least amount of people in the disc. Of the four, the eyes are vastly the less amount. So you have S's like me who want to keep the peace and keep it kind of between us, and then C's who don't want it at all, and D's who are going to blow up at you or be harsh and rude, right? Who take up all the rest of the space. And so, what is it that we can do? If you want people, you know,
Mhm.
if you want people to be honest, they have to have an intent. Because, like you said, if we are in a position where we are making our high performers uncomfortable and our low performers able to stay where they are, then we are not going to keep our best and our brightest, right? So I had a I was coaching a client, and she said, I have an employee who just nobody wants to work with. And I said, okay, well, what have you done? Well, I've told her about it, and we've talked about it. We've had conversations, and she even went to HR and said that, that I'm picking on her. I said, okay, well, what have you done in the documentation process? Well, she does all these things. We have all this evidence. I said, okay, what have you done to hold her accountable? Well, I've been talking to her. Okay, is the talking backed up with any type of documentation, any specific examples of the lack of performance? No, I haven't done that yet. Well, okay, so how long has this been going on? 3 years. Okay, so you've told her for 3 years that you're just going to talk to her and you're going to threaten her and nothing's going to change.
Right.
So if you want someone to be held accountable, you have to start with a base of how do I hold you accountable? This is where I want you to be. This is where you are right now. And I have documented proof, examples of it that is the base for the change, right? And that is where we have to go. And like I said, I want everyone to get along, but I also know if I don't hold people accountable, the rest of my folks who are, going above and beyond are going to see that and say, why am I busting my ass to follow the instructions to get here on time when this person gets to do whatever they want and skate free? So
Right.
you have to give people the why. You have to let them know this is why we're doing this. This is why it's important to be held accountable. You also have to do the work. And that's the issue, right? Do the work, which means you keep track of performance standards. You hold other people accountable. And it pisses me off when people say, well, they won't get supported. Okay, so what can you control? What can you control in your little circle of influence, right? What do you control? And if you feel like you have no control because you're waiting for the person above you, well, then you've given that person complete power over your team and your department. When you have, by nature of your job and your role, complete power and influence over your department. So what can you create? Can you create culture? Right? You're waiting for people above you to create culture. What about the culture you have with your team?
Right.
Right? What if you have a great culture and an organization of trust and accountability, but your team doesn't trust you? Okay, so what does that mean? What are you not doing right? So what are you doing right? How can you help influence folks? Right? Having that conversation, letting people, not just the poor performers, right? The high performers as well. Hey, look, this is our standard. You're right there at the standard, or you're here, right? You're above standard. And I just want to thank you for that. And what are the things that you're doing and having them, like you say, give them a forum, let them know that you appreciate that. Right. I had a boss work for the county. She said, write down all the good things that you get, all the emails, all all the kudos and things that you have from people because I can't keep track. I have 8 of you. I can't keep track of all of those, especially when I have to take care of my folks who aren't holding their end of the bargain. So keep track of that, and I'll put it into your end of year evaluation, and I'll make it real and fair, right? And so that's something I always tell people: performance management own. If you have a team that owns their own performance and you recognize them for the performance, they know that they're in charge of that. They're in charge of that. They're going to keep doing it. But like you said, if we just have this vicious cycle of I'm following this person because that person's following the person above them or the person that came before them. You do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. And then we're just going to keep bitching and complaining about how things aren't getting done. And then we're going to have this negative idea about government employees, which we see being played out on a daily freaking basis right now. So what are you
Right.
going to do? What are you going to do? Stop talking about it and get to doing something about it. Put the work
So,
in.
yeah.
Complaining about staff, document staff, hold them accountable. Let HR know I have a staff who is not meeting their ends of the bargain. I'm going to keep track of this, and I would like your support in holding this person accountable because it is bringing down the rest of my team. And if that doesn't work, what are my recourses?
Right.
That's where it's got to be.
So, the first thing, like, what are you gonna do to make it different? I think one of the first things that has to change, to shift or has to change, is this idea that everybody has to be comfortable, right? If you're moving into leadership, you're going to have some very uncomfortable conversations. And like one of the questions I love to ask people when talking about these uncomfortable things is like, does anybody do squats for fun? Like exercise squats. And every once in a while, I get a few people who are like, oh, I do it for fun. But for the most part, most of us don't do squats for fun. We do them because we want the outcome. And this is the same as like having these like genuine, truthful conversations with people, including your bosses and the people who you report to. We're not doing it for the love of having an uncomfortable conversation. We're creating some discomfort for the sake of growth. I'm all with you on like performance management and having things documented and what recourse do we have? But my goal is not to fire people. My ultimate goal is to like give people some space and some ownership to
Mhm.
like do your job because it's what you're paid to do, and I want you to have some joy in that.
Sure.
And if you hate it so much, then go do something else.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's something that we know that, we wish the people who didn't like their job would go find something else. But we already know 40% of those that are disengaged aren't going anywhere because they got retirement, they
Exactly.
got benefits, they got car notes, they got kids' tuition. So they're going to sit
Exactly.
there and if we're not
Exactly.
working with our folks to make it any better, and I'm not talking about making people comfortable. Screw comfort. It's not about comfortable. It's
Right.
about them feeling safe. It's about them feeling safe enough to be able to have those courageous conversations with you, that radical candor. This is what I'm noticing. This is what is wrong,
Right.
right? When we talk about crucial conversations, and it's always mixed up with difficult conversations. A crucial conversation does not have to be inherently difficult. It doesn't.
No, I don't think so at all. I
I
call
can
I
come
call them courageous conversations.
but even courageous, if I'm in a place where I know that my boss respects my opinion and I'm part of the collaboration and the process of improving stuff, then you and me, we can talk without me worrying about being in trouble or being the troublemaker or
Right.
having it used against me. So that's, that's not about being courageous. That's about vulnerability and feeling like you're contributing, right? So that doesn't have to be a difficult conversation. That can be, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Let's talk about it. Why do you feel like it's difficult? Let's have that conversation,
Right.
right? But it's only courageous because we don't do it enough.
Well, and this is where I say I don't like the term difficult conversation because the assumption it's going to be difficult. Most of the time they're not difficult conversations. It just takes some courage to approach it. Like, Carl and I, we work together now for a while. If I'm having a challenge with Carl, I feel pretty safe to be able to come to Carl and say, "Hey, Carl, look, this isn't working for me anymore. Like, I need this from you," or, maybe things have shifted and what we've been doing isn't working for us anymore. Let's figure something out. Like, I feel confident in being able to do that because I know that I built enough rapport with Carl. Well, he's not going to take it as oh, Tiff's just trying to be bossy or this, that, and the other. And I know that as an I, that might be more comfortable for me than other people. But what I am saying is that whether it's comfortable for you or not, and again, or safe for you or not, it's a fundamental job duty.
Sure.
And it's a fundamental leadership skill. And so you may not be good at it right now, or you may not love it right now, but you can't avoid it because that's what creates the environment for, like, again, this bacteria of crappy work to like flourish. I can't make everybody happy. I'm never going to be able to, like, every idea you have is a great idea, but if I can again be supportive of you, like you keep using the word supportive, even more so, like I just really value, like I can have an honest, I keep coming back to the word honest, like I can have just a genuine person to person conversation that's direct and is not like, again, beat around the bush. I can be kind and I can be compassionate and still tell you the truth. And
Truth
I
is
think that
compassionate.
it
Yeah,
is compassionate, but that's what
it's
I'm saying. Like
compassionate. Yeah.
that for me is again where the trauma of leadership comes from, is that again, you tell me in like the most professional way that I can say to you, like, for example, Tiffany, sometimes your energy is a little bit much, and we'd like you to be able to bring bring in the energy just a little bit, to make it more, like, tell me what you need to tell me, right? Tell me what you need to tell me. I can still, like, if I feel like you're telling me in a respectful way, then I can hear you. But what happens is that, again, what, like, people tiptoe around the issue. This is where, again, not challenging directly. They tiptoe around the issue. They don't tell people the truth. They do it in a passive aggressive way. Like, my favorite example of this is the friendly reminder. Friendly reminder, bullshit. It's not a friendly reminder. You're just trying to avoid like that person to person conversation or feedback or whatever you want to call it. And then people miss the point. And then again, we're all mad at each other.
Okay.
Like
So
the
yes,
most, yeah, the most high performing teams can have genuine conversations. And to me, a good leader facilitates that space where not just the leader has real relationships and conversations with people, but it opens up the door that I'm not here to babysit you all.
hmm,
If you all have challenges working with each other, then let's figure it out and quit catering to the problem children, or they're not children, but the problem employees, or the people who again create the most friction, and we don't have any consequence for them except for they get to retire after 40 years of terrorizing and bringing down the productivity of the whole damn agency. I I don't know how to put it into words right now because I think I'm just feeling really frustrated by this whole topic that learn how to lead. I guess that's what it is. And can I just say, like, stop, like, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I One of the reasons I became a coach and not just an instructor, why I wanted to go into coaching is that one of the biggest challenges that I saw with like training is that a lot of places hire you to train away leadership challenges. And what I mean by that is they want like someone like me to come in and teach customer service skills to people who do nothing but teach or do customer service all day every day, who don't need a class on customer service. They know what they're supposed to do. It's not a skill issue, it's a leadership challenge. I'm not required to give good customer service, or I'm giving good customer service. And then I got in trouble for it because I took longer than 12 minutes on the phone call when I was trying to help this person take care of it. So this is where I say the traumatic, it's the like, I can't put, go ahead, Carl, take it
Well,
over because I need to get my thoughts
I,
together for a second because I'm already
yeah,
frustrated.
because
I'm already pissed
I,
off
I
right now.
hear and I can see it because I feel you. You started on the same, you're starting the place and you're spiraling in the same place because it's
I'm spiraling
frustrating.
because I'm irritated.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm irritated.
and it's something I've seen too. I mean, you know bad management when you see it or when you feel it, right? But just thinking about, sure, we know what it is, and we know how frustrating it is, and how it contributes to negative perceptions and people quietly quitting. But what the hell do we do about it? That's the issue. So thinking about as much as we know about what bad management feels like, we know what we look for in an admired leader. So I'll go back to the leadership challenge. Honesty. Tell me what it is you need me to know, right? Tell me in a way, and you said it, right? I mean, you said we don't want to treat people like children, but yet we talk about babysitting and holding hands and problem children, right? First off, if that's what you want, then stop calling people children. Treat
Right,
them as adults.
right,
You want to keep
right,
having kids act like you want to keep having staff act like kids, keep telling them you're babysitting them. They'll follow,
right,
right?
right,
So honesty. Here's what I'm saying. Specifics. That's why I said do your damn homework. Don't just talk about you've had a lot of attitude lately, or you never seem to come in with the good attitude or the good mood, or I've been hearing things about your performance. No, 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 no. What specifically are you calling me in for? Otherwise, why are we having this conversation?
right,
Because I'm gonna if I don't have specific proof, I'm going to HR and I'm gonna file a hostile work environment
right,
because you are not telling me what it is I can do to improve. You're just bagging me about the stuff that is intangible, right? So honesty, I need to know what it is I need to do. Competency, yes. Emotional intelligence to recognize good leaders need to manage other people. Me as an
right,
individual contributor, eligibility worker, I take care of my stuff. Now that I'm managing 8 different eligibility workers with their own work habits, their own home lives, their own kids, their own spouses, their own family issues that I need to manage. And it might be frustrating because I could care less about them. But then again, I got hired because I'm a really good eligibility worker. Well, guess what? There's some humanity that has to be involved in this, right? Why am I becoming a leader? Am I becoming a leader because I'm getting paid more? Find another freaking place to work. You're right. Right. Because that's not the reason why we should be hiring people to be leaders. We should be hiring people to be leaders because we want our staff to know that we are supporting them. And when I say support, being honest about performance, whether it's non-performance or uber performance, is support. If you are screwing up and I know you're screwing up and I don't talk to you about it until 3 months after, and I have documentation after documentation, I am a shitty leader and I'm doing you
right,
a disservice. I
right,
care about you. I'm going to bring it up to your attention right away because I want to help you to fix it because that's my job. If you want to keep people from quitting, you have to make them feel like they're in the right place to do well. Right. So I'm going to bring stuff up. I'm going to bring stuff up, but at the same time, I'm going to treat you like a human being. Hey, how are you? How was your weekend? Yeah. That's not babysitting. That's called being a freaking human being. And you know what? If people are task focused, they need to realize there's half of us that are relationship focused. And if you're a leader, you need to figure out which is the appropriate time to use one or the other. I'm going to tell you, using relationships is just as important. There's your job, right? Your job is here. Half of your job is the skill that you have at your job, and the other half is how you feel about your job. And if you are very good at what you do, but you feel like this is the worst place in the world to work, you're going to do your job subpar. So,
Ain't that the truth?
so support. My support is, what are you doing? How are you feeling about this? What can I do to help you feel like you're in the right place to grow? Where would you like to grow? What is your performance? This is where you are right now. How can we get you from here to here? Right? Or you're here, right? What else do you think you'd want to do? Right? How can you help other folks get to where you are as a high performer? That's fantastic, right? I want to celebrate that, right? And I want to celebrate the rest of your staff, right? And I don't have any problem children. I have folks who maybe aren't necessarily at the level they want to be, but Lord knows I want to help them get there, right? As a coach, we ask coaching questions to develop, right? That's honest, right? Where they're coming up with their own solutions. We want to treat people like kids. We tell them what to do. We want to treat people like adults. We coach them to come up with their own freaking answers because that's what we were trained to do, right? Inspiring. When you tell people, when you connect people to what they do and the job, what is the goal of the job? What is the mission, the vision? Where are we going? Why it's important to do what we do. And in human services, if you have to be, you know, some people have to be told why, right? And we may not think you and I, we're in it to win it because we care about people. But there's some folks who are in it because their parents told them get a county job. And they were told that 20, 25 years ago, right? And how many people have continued, well, yeah, you work for the county, right? Or these county employees, right? Whatever else it is, right? And it's not an easy job. You're dealing with trauma, you're dealing with disappointment, you're dealing with people who are rude to you and will call you out your name and make you feel this small. And then if your boss is not really supporting you in that way to not make you feel that small, then that's how much effort you're going to put into what you're doing, right? So look, what you're doing has this effect on the families that you work with, the community. Even if you're in payroll, you putting out the payroll and doing it correctly helps an employee who's working with clients, an IHSS provider who's working in a home feel supported, knowing that their efforts are going to be recognized, right? That is the importance that you have, even if you never see the clients that we work with. That is the connection. Now, what is it that you do? And how do we match you with this? That's what inspiring is, right? I'm trying to sell you on the fact that what you do makes a difference. And then forward looking. Hey, this is what we're doing right now. I know we're swamped. This is where we're trying to go. This is what we're trying to get. So let's get through this. And at the same time, I used to tell my staff all the time, hey, tell me what you need to make this where we want it to be. Right. And I've gone from one kid a day to 140 kids a day at the youth center that I worked at. I went from 11 consumers to 17 consumers in 5 months at the day program I used to work at. Right. How do we do that? Look, this is what we're dealing with right now. We want to get here. What is that we need to be able to get there? Talk to me. And while we are working and putting our efforts into this, I will continue to support you to get the resources, the support, the time that you need for us to be able to get to those levels. And that's called putting in work, right? Not babysitting, not holding hands. And, if that person, oh, well, just tell me, like you said, oh, I don't want you to say anything. No, no. Okay. So you're having an issue with your other staff member. Okay. So what's going on? Okay. Have you talked to this person about it? What have they said? Oh, okay. You haven't talked to them yet. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Go ahead and have the conversation with them. In fact, we can practice right now. What would you like to say to them? Okay. And,
Right.
so if you tell me, that you're feeling this way and then you say it like that, I might be a little, I might take that a little personal. How else could you say it? Okay, cool. We're good. Go have the conversation. Let me know how it goes. And if you guys can't reach, help, then I can come and maybe mediate. But, I'd really rather you guys take care of this stuff. That's what coaching is. I don't want to have to be there every time an issue arises. I want to be there to support you when the opportunity arises to improve, right? And if we're having a hard time connecting with people in a way that's supportive and honest, and where we're using emotional intelligence and coaching skills, because I mean, how often has coaching been taught in leadership programs until maybe the last 20 years? As far as I know, before I got into leadership, I just thought coaches were, hey, my best coaches was the coach I had at
Hmm.
College of Marin when I played baseball. What'd they tell me? Run a lap, right? Which is the opposite of what we're taught, right? Ain't no
Right.
lap running with a lot of our folks, right? So as far as I knew, it was tough love. Run a lap, suck it up. You got to work harder than everyone else. That's our generation. That's what we were taught, Tiff. Suck it
Yeah.
up. The world
I
ain't
know.
fair, right? So now we know through neuroscience that that is not necessarily the most healthy lesson to teach people, because we have these cultures of, hostile work environments and lack of communication. Suck it up means, hey, I'm having a problem with this person, so you know what, I just got to deal with it. And how am I going to deal with it? I'm just going to be quiet about it because I don't want to get in trouble. And so I come to work every day knowing that I'm not in a happy place. So am I going to put forth my best effort? No. No. Why should I? So it's one thing to recognize that. What are we going to do about it? How do
Well,
we do it?
yeah. Well, I'm going to just say this. We can't say it's a lack of access to information. Um, I get being a leader's challenging, and I know that we have had a lot of examples of what to do and what not to do, right? In the workplace, just in our own individual experiences. And so where I really feel like the what do we do about it is like people have to be brave to stand up to and not fall into the status quo. I think that's number one. You have to really have um, some tenacity to break the cycle and not do it because that's the way it's always been done, but to really advocate for something different. And this might be a bit of trial and error. You can't be afraid to fail. So if I know that doing it this way is not working, like what can I do differently that maybe is not what the norm is? It's not what we've always done, but it's worth giving it a shot. So if we don't say, here's our problem children, right? Which, again, it was so funny that I said that because I hate that phrase, but it's like
But
ingrained
you've been
in like how
conditioned to say
people,
it. Yes. You've been
right?
conditioned to
It's
say it.
ingrained.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like again, supervisors, oh, I have to babysit. No, you work with adults. Oh, what I always say is child labor is illegal. You work with adults. So the reason that people it sometimes feels like you're babysitting is because you are treating people like children, treat them like adults and hold them to a higher standard. And a lot of those behaviors go away. People will get away with what they're allowed to do. And by no means am I advocating for strict rules. Everybody follows them. This is the way it has to be. Like that's not the message I'd like to send here. But we do have to have like clear expectations of not just the process, the procedures, the systems, but also like who are we as an organization? When I think about like being in human services, I want to be like the people in the community who are incredibly compassionate to your suffering and that will go above and beyond to help find ways for your life to be better. But that's not the culture of human services. Collectively, what's really been fascinating me recently is that individually, most people are like, I care about my customers. I want to do great work. I want to help the people. I want to go above and beyond. But my manager says I take too long, or but I get told this or I get told that. And this is where, again, people get resigned to what's not working. and where it becomes traumatic. And so I'm saying from a leadership perspective, we do not lack access to information. There are so many free tools out in the universe to help you improve your skill set. Like, again, being good at the work, like Carl said earlier, being good at the work doesn't make you a good leader. Leadership is a whole different skill set. And so learn how to have those, again, conversations, learn how to not opinionate feedback, but make it fact based. Like you said, do your research. So instead of me like, Carl, I heard you've been a little bit rude lately to people, or you made some people feel uncomfortable, like share some specific information. Carl, you were overheard telling your next door cubicle neighbor to kick rocks with no socks. And that, is not something that most people will find respectful. Like, what's a more respectful way to communicate? Like, again, those coaching questions. But it's inviting people to be the adults and find solutions for what the challenges are. I don't have to tell other adults how to behave. I can still set clear expectations. I can say here's our values, and that goes beyond that. So let's get it back in the confines of who we are as an organization. But I don't have to dictate to you how you're going to do that. I can put you in a space to think. And can I just say, it's probably not going to work the first several times you try it because people are not conditioned to be accountable. This is why, again, when we look at like documentation, I mean, Carl, I don't know the last time you read a journal. It's like, per so and so did this, per so and so did that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's so worried about covering their ass about who did what or who told them. If I go to you and say, hey, Carl, there was a mistake here. Oh, well, that's how I was trained to do it. Versus, oh crap, let's figure this out. I want to make sure people get the right benefits. I did it wrong. I probably had a bad day. Let's see what it's supposed to be. Let me fix it real quick. I would hate to inconvenience somebody, but again, it comes down from the top. If your leaders don't trust you to make good decisions and have to micromanage every detail of your day, you're probably going to do the bare minimum. Again, probably because everybody's different. If they can't be accountable for making bad decisions from time to time and owning it, then you probably won't either. And there's no emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, by the way, is being able to deal with like discomfort, like knowing who you are and how you come across to other people and having like self-awareness. Like, I know way too many. I don't want to bring up like places. I'm not going to say where, but a county far, far away, county far, far away. Just recently, but a long time ago, but recently, but a long time ago. I'm going to try and be as vague as possible here. But I met a manager that literally lacked self awareness in the most like brutal way, just brutal way. In their opinion, they were doing everything right. And people were telling them, but no, but this. And they're like, no, 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 completely oblivious to how that person came across, no self-awareness. In their mind, they were the best manager that had ever existed. So, like, self-awareness and really also being able to kind of regulate and know like how to meet people where they're at, even if it's not where you're most comfortable. I'm an I, I'm not a C. But I know that C people need a lot more detail than I love to give, and they don't like to be wrong. And so I may not lead with, oh, by the way, you made this mistake. I might start with a question about how do you understand this process? Right. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. You read this policy, like, how are you understanding it? Versus you made a mistake. Look at this case where you missed this and you didn't dot that I and cross that T, which is going to shut people off. And so I have to have, again, that ability to regulate the way I talk to people based on what they need versus my preference. So there is no easy answer, Carl. Like, I know that there's no easy answer, and there's lots of different philosophies, and there's lots of different practices, and there's lots of different theories about this. But all I'm saying is find what works for you But if it's not getting you results, if it's not getting you a team of people who are excited about doing the job and feel compassionate and caring about the work that they do, and you've got a bunch of quiet quitters, then your management style is not working. And you have to be able to own that. It can't be everybody else is just bad. It's just that the way that you're leading people is not effective. If you spend most of your day in chaos, if you spend most of your day dealing with issues, it's probably your leadership style. And once you can own that, then there's steps where you can start to say, well, what do I want to be different? And what am I willing to get there? And that means you sometimes have to get out of what's comfortable for you and what you were taught and what you were told and what you've experienced and try something freaking different. Break the freaking cycle. Okay, I'm not so mad anymore, Carl. I feel better. I was so pissed earlier. I just, it's just as my brain has such a hard time wrapping around the idea that people are willing to stay in the dysfunction and not change anything or blame it's everybody else needs to change something. We all have a piece in it. I can't say that I've always been a good leader. I haven't been a good coworker always. I can recognize that now, maybe not back then, but now. But it like, how do we be honest even with ourselves? And if we're going to create trust, you have to be trustworthy. And so I know my last hot tip last time was don't be an asshole. Sometimes that's a learning experience. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's a learning experience. So you look very calm and relaxed over there, Carl. You look very satisfied. What's on your mind?
I'm just listening, letting you vent.
I
And
was not venting. I was talking truth, Carl. Talking truth.
well, if I have to babysit you while you're talking truth, just kidding. So, no, I hear you. It's an age-old issue, and it's something that, I talk about all the time. And believe me, just even having the conversation with folks in CDSS, just talking about some of the things they see in documentation with these general type of words. Someone has attitude, someone's non-compliant, someone's aggressive. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Nothing. It means
And
nothing.
well, it means the problem is it means everything to if it means if we have 1,000 different people, it could be 1,001 different definitions, right? And
Right.
so what is it that we need? So, you have your hot tips. I'm gonna have my doctor's orders.
All right. Our
Okay.
doctor's orders, I'm ready for it. But I'm going to give you just my few hot tips. Less about who people are and more about what they did, right? So fact over opinion. So not Carl, you made a bunch of errors. Carl, you entered 100 when it should have been 1,000. Fact based, not opinion. Um, I guess my second hot tip would be talk to people, don't talk about them. Like, I know a lot of times what happens, especially at a leadership level, maybe I have an employee that I'm struggling with. And so I'm really like candid about the struggles with a coworker, colleague, maybe my manager. Like, this is what I'm experiencing, and this is what they're saying, and this is what they're doing, and I'm so frustrated. And then when you go and you have the conversation with the employee, it's like a watered down, diluted version. You don't want to tell them the full truth because you want to protect their feelings. And I'm saying, like, sometimes there discomfort for the sake of growth. It might upset people, but don't let them be upset with you. Let them be upset with their own choices, but also be open to what you need to do to help support them through that. So those are my two things. And the last one is don't think for people who can think for themselves. Infantile, I can't say that word. It's one of those words like bureaucracy. I have a hard time. What was the word again, Carl? In
Don't infantilize
infantilizing.
people.
Yes. Don't
Infantilize.
infantilize people. Do not infantilize people. You have hired adults. Put them in a position to be adults and take ownership for their choices, both good and bad. And if they make a not so good choice and it doesn't fit the expectations or your culture or what it is that you're trying to do, like really invite them to make a better choice. And when they are not able or willing to make better choices that are more in line with what you need for that job, then you need to invite them to go do something else. Like either very kindly, let's find something that better fits your interests, or sometimes you're just not a good fit for this organization. And I wish it was different, but it's not. And so, like, quit giving people this third option to stay in the job but not do it, the quiet quitting. I don't think that should be a choice that people have. If you're choosing to keep the job, then you should do the job even to the day you retire. You can't dial it in and stay there for 40 more years. And again, companies can't allow that to happen. That's all. That's all my hot tips.
All right. Well, so we've definitely reached the end of our journey today, right? And
I
people are
need
in
to
your
go smoke a
field,
cigarette all of a sudden, and I don't
right?
even smoke, but I'm all fired up today. So smoke fake cigarette.
So
Don't
I'm just going
smoke,
to leave.
kids. Go
So
ahead. Leave us with some doctor's notes, Carl.
just, we think about, treating people like kids. You want to treat people like kids, you treat people like kids, right? But you want to treat people like adults. There's pedagogy, right? If teachers know what pedagogy is, right? Those of you who are trainers, maybe you learned, about how to teach kids, but the theory of andragogy is adult learning theory. And what are the things that adults need to learn? All right. First of all, they need to be collaborated with, right? They need to know that their experience matters, right? And so recognizing and validating their concerns. You want people to feel safe? You got to let them say, this place sucks. I don't feel safe. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed off. The person next to me is not holding their end of the bargain. Or you keep saying that I'm not doing anything, but there's other people who aren't doing anything either. And you know what? All of those opinions and thoughts are valid. And then we move on, right? Second, we need to collaborate. What is it that you need from me to help put you in that position to succeed? That's not handholding. That's not babysitting. That is called being a manager who can facilitate someone's growth, right? The next thing, you need expectations. This is what we are trying to do. This is what we're trying to accomplish. These are the standards that we are upholding, and we're going to hold everybody accountable for it. I don't care if you've been here 30 years or you've been here 30 days. And you're going to be recognized for your performance, whether you are recognized in a positive way or a negative way. You want people to feel, Cy Wakeman wants people to feel uncomfortable. Let's let those people who are not performing feel the discomfort, right? Self-direction. If we prepare people for the right information, for the right expectations, and then let them do it without standing over them, without micromanaging, but also being available when they need some support, because different people are in different places. We already talked about situational leadership, right? And then motivation. People need to know why. And that may be frustrating to a lot of you who don't need to know the why. I already know why I'm in the business I'm in, but not everyone knows why. Very often, the why is because I'm paying my bills. And my cousin just got laid off from the Certifactory for working 15 years. I'm not going to have to deal with that, right? And so that is the motivation, why we're doing what we're doing, what is the benefit of what we're doing, and how it affects you, your team, and other people. And like I said, if you're in human services, how it affects the community that you live in. And last, they need practical application. People may think, well, you should know this. You should on me, I'm gonna should right back on you. No shooting around here, right? And shooting on yourself is one of the worst things you can do. It's a mess. And so just because you don't know something doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Sometimes people have not been exposed to things in the way that they know. I mean, we already know learning styles, right? How many people are told stuff in meetings and staff meetings and told that they need to do something. And then when they don't do it, well, I already told you you should know this. Well, only 25% of us are auditory learners, right? So it means you have a 1 in 4 chance of those things really setting in. What are you doing to show people exactly what is expected? And is that something that they just might be missing how to do that, right? Some of us, we don't need a whole lot of things. Maybe Tiff, you're one of those people, just give me a couple ideas and just let me roll with it. Me, talk to me as if I'm a second grade. I don't care if I'm a PhD. Lay it out for me. You want this, this, and this. When do you want to buy? Who do you want me to talk to? What email should I send it to? How do I fill this out? Walk me through it one time, and then we're good, right? That's not holding my hand. That's enabling me to do what you want me to do at a high level. But I need to see that. And then I need to put it into effort. You're telling me that I am below standard. What am I below standard at? And what is the standard? That is practical application. And then let me show you that I'm living up to it. Let's meet again in a week. Let's meet again in a month. Let's meet again in 3 months. And you can see that I am demonstrating performance, because if you don't, people will never know that they're improving. And it's a pop quiz, and nobody likes a pop quiz. If it's a pop quiz in our head, we'll make it up that we suck. So those are that's how adults learn. They need to be collaborated with. They need expectations. They need to be able to do it on their own. They need to know the why, and they also need to know exactly what it is that they're supposed to be doing, given the opportunity to practice and demonstrate to you that they are who you want them to be. You treat people the way you want them to be, then they will live up to it. Good to send that. We'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they'll stay in their feelings. And we all know how, we all know, with Drake, he can't. Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? What? No, that's not it. Okay. All right.
In our feelings. I know. I was definitely in my feelings today. So I make no apologies for it. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it the same. It's just something I really care about. And
Yeah, we both do.
my goal, yeah, my goal
Yeah.
honestly, my goal as an instructor, as a coach, as a human being, like the legacy I would like to leave is like, let's break the cycle of traumatic leadership and let's just make going to work suck a little bit less. That's literally what I'm living for right now. Let work suck just a little bit less. That's all.
Cool. And let's enable that.
Yeah. And live it. It can't be everybody else. It can't be everybody else. We all got to do it. Everybody's got to play their part. So I'm really, really trying to do mine. I'm trying to be a better person every day. Um, but that's my passion right now.
As a great scholar once said, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that
Change.
change.
I don't know if
All
that's the
right.
dance move, but I was feeling it. So,
Until next time, I'm Carl.
and I am Tiff.
And let's keep it
Testy
real,
Tiff
y'all.
today. Testy Tiff. Keep it real.
Kiki, do you love me?